Hello and welcome to the Box Score Network NFL Draft Show. My name is Simon. Joining me tonight are Austin, Ben, and Ronan. We're here for the Mock Draft 4.0, our final mock draft before the Thursday night round one 2026 NFL Draft begins. This show is coming out to you guys on Wednesday, day before the draft. So if there's any major breaking news in the 48 hours between recording and release, you will know why, and I'm sure you will get some sort of update from us one way or another reacting to that as well. But hopefully you have seen we have draft coverage all this week, all last week really, and then all throughout, kind of reacting to the draft too. So if you're here for the first time, thank you for being here. Please subscribe, comment, like, because we are not done. We will be getting you guys draft content for 2026 and then 2027 very, very soon as well. Also, maybe some redrafts and other draft related content over the summer. So if you love the draft just as a process as a whole, we have stuff for you. And if you're here just for 2026, we'll have stuff for you for the next week or so as well. But thanks so much for being here. We are going to dive right in because this is a two-round mock. This is our first and only two-round mock of the season. So we will get you a little bit of a full kind of picture what we think these teams should do with the top 64 picks in tonight's draft. We are luckily making this draft, this mock post the Dexter Lawrence trade, so we'll get to talk a little bit of that fallout. But without further ado, Ronan, I kick it to you. We should say it's a foregone conclusion. The Raiders are taking Fernando Mendoza one overall. Ronan, you are here with the second pick representing the New York Jets. What are you going to do for New York?
I am, and the Jets here at two, they've got to get a difference maker on the defensive side of the football. And I think Arvel Reese, his floor is really high. A really athletic linebacker who has a nose for the football. At two, you maybe don't want to shoot for a guy who can spy the quarterback really well, but he can spy the quarterback really well, and he's really athletic to be able to track down the ball carrier. So worst case scenario, you have a athlete who's able to blow up plays.
Yeah, there's definitely been some back and forth. David Bailey, Arvel Reese, we had something about that on the channel just the other day. But Arvel Reese feels like the pick, always has kind of felt like the pick, and I think it's a good one. Ben, you are up on the clock with the Arizona Cardinals. Where are you going to take this for Arizona?
I'd be happy with about three different guys here, but we're going to go ahead and settle in on David Bailey, edge rusher. We just really like the ability to get to the quarterback, so we're going to go ahead and take that. There is no perfect prospect in this draft or usually in a draft, but we do like David Bailey, so we're going to plug that in on the defense. David Bailey.
All right, David Bailey it is. We have edge rushers essentially going two and three after quarterback Fernando Mendoza going one overall. Austin, you are on the clock with the Tennessee Titans. What are you going to do here with Tennessee?
We're pretty happy here in Tennessee. Our number one edge is still on the board. So we're gonna take Ruben Bay Jr. That is our top guy that we want in this class. And so feel kind of forced to it now that Reese and Bailey are gone. This might be just what kind of has to happen at this point. If other guys are on the board, maybe I consider them, but I think it's easy with how the board's fallen.
Okay, so we have edges going two, three, four after a quarterback. So now the New York Giants are on the clock, and this is a little bit interesting because we were already looking at a draft where in the top 10, we were going to have some positional value conversations. Now the Giants can really only go one way if they were going to go high positional value versus one of the top players in this draft. One thing I really like about what the Giants did with the trade of Dexter Lawrence is they're going to allow themselves to kind of have a meat and potatoes pick in the top 10, but also kind of a fun and irresponsible pick in the top 10. And that's where I'm going to go first, guys. I am actually, me of all people, going to take Jeremiah Love with the fifth overall pick for the New York Giants. Um, I think it feels like he's going to probably be a top five pick in the draft, whether it's Arizona, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's New York. And it's a wholly irresponsible move to make on its own. But with the way the board looks right now for the NFL and the way the New York Giants are kind of shaping things up, some of the other moves they made, I think they can be a little irresponsible. Get this guy, get Jeremiah Love at five. They don't have a running back right now with Scadaboo's injury. They're trying to protect their quarterback. They're trying to create an identity of being able to run the ball. And sneak preview at 10, I think I'm going to be able to do something a little more meat and potatoesy, a little more foundational that I like. So, New York Giants, number 5 overall pick, Jeremiah Love. And now we are kicking it back to Ronan for the Cleveland Browns. Ronan, what are you going to do here?
Yes, sir. Here at 6 with the Cleveland Browns, we are going to get a picture for whoever we end up deciding to roll out at quarterback. It's looking like Shador. It might be Watson, who knows at this point. But the receiving core in Cleveland is not looking very good. And honestly, they just need a secure, just nice double here at 6, just to make sure that they get a solid player. So we're going to go with Carnell Tate out of Ohio State.
All right, I like this pick a lot. And man, guys, this draft is feeling very flashy so far for a draft that we were worried about that and we were thinking about positional value. Yes, we get running back out of the way early too, but edge rushers, wide receiver, running back, quarterback in the top 6. Certainly a fun way to start. So let's see. We are now back on the clock with the Washington Commanders. Ben, you are covering the Commanders tonight. You cover the Commanders on your channel, Pro Football Enterprises, almost weekly with Robertson Vire. Please talk to us about what the Commanders would do here, especially with all these edge rushers and then these offensive playmakers off the board as well.
Yeah, so my main hope is to just improve the defense with this first pick. So I feel like there's three players here that can do that, but the one we're going to grab is Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. We just really love the athleticism, the pass coverage, and the run stopping ability. So he offers us more than just one thing, and we love him. We're glad to have him. So Sonny Styles heading to the Washington Commanders.
And Sonny Styles, it kind of feels like this is his floor. This is kind of what the scuttlebutt is right now. The Commanders are kind of in on Love, Styles, and then maybe Tate. So if they're able to get one of these three come Thursday night, it sounds like that's the direction they want to go in. They had the edge rushers in free agency, get the linebacker in the draft. Feels like the right move. Austin, are you on the clock here? No, I'm on the clock with the New Orleans Saints. So for New Orleans, with the edge rushers off the board, with the wide receiver off the board. I've done a lot with my offensive line. I'm going to just take who I think is the next best player in the draft. And this is going to be in the defensive backfield. And I think corner is a popular pick here. But I'm going to go with the guy that I think can be overall more impactful. And I'm going to take Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. Um, there's some potential he could play in the slot at some point, I think. But I'm going to get him to be the over the top communicator, culture setting, run defender in the middle. Demario Davis is gone, so I'm getting a player in the middle of the field here, communicator, leader type. I'm going to take Caleb Downs, safety, for the New Orleans Saints. So before we go to our next pick here, I just want to pull this up for everybody at home watching. Box Score Network Mock Draft 4.0. Mendoza obviously won. Reese, Bailey, Bain, the three edge rushers, go 2, 3, 4. Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate get a little flashy 5 and 6. Commanders go Sonny Styles at 7. Caleb Downs goes 8 to the New Orleans Saints. This feels, and no trades, no trades. So no wonky stuff happening so far. Feels like everybody's kind of happy with where things are falling. Feels like these are all guys that are pretty comfortably in the top 10. Nobody's really reaching for stuff that they don't want. So far this draft feels pretty much like it makes sense, right? I wouldn't say that this is what we necessarily think will happen, but this feels like it makes sense from a value, from a board, from a team need kind of standpoint. All right, up next, we have Austin drafting for the Kansas City Chiefs. Austin, what are you going to do here?
I I haven't considered this pick at all, so I'm trying to run through my brain. Hmm. There's a guy on the board who can play tackle for us that usually doesn't make it this far in the draft that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we drafted Josh Simmons to play left tackle for us, but injury history. Paid Jalen Moore, but I don't really like Moore. Um, and man, you're just not gonna get a tackle prospect like this too often. There are other positions that have some standout players, but Mamigoa is my highest player left on the board.
Yeah.
And not that it's not a need per se, but it would be an improvement, a massive improvement at right tackle, I think. Or I mean, more can swing to left. You can move Mamigoa to left if Simmons is hurt or doesn't pan out. I really just think this will work out for us. So we're gonna go Francis Mamigoa.
Yeah. Yeah, this feels like the right pick, and I'm just going to go ahead. I have the Giants again at 10 with the Dexter Lawrence trade, and I'm going to go ahead and take the other right tackle in Spencer Fano, and we'll just kind of combine these two. Um, I mentioned it with the meat and potatoes for the Giants. This feels like a need for them. The Chiefs, I think the offensive line has always been in the background of our conversations about the Chiefs. It's been explosive playmaker in Love or Tate, and then it was okay, maybe Tyson or Sadiq, and then it was, but if these edge rushers fall, they really need an edge rusher. Well, here the edge rushers didn't fall. The running back didn't fall. The wide receiver one didn't fall. Meanwhile, you have all the offensive linemen available to you. Jalen Moore's never been a full-time starter. Mahomes coming off the ACL. This this feels like the smart pick, but also one that can listen. The last time they heavily invest in the offensive line, it changed their offense. And if they're going to build this thing around maybe Ken Walker a little bit, take pressure off Mahomes, this feels like the next natural way to do that. All right, so and I mentioned for the Giants, we have a little fun with Jeremiah Love at 5, but then I go get Spencer Fano at 10 with this extra pick, and I can play him anywhere. I think I can try him at right tackle and kick Illuminor into guard. I can put Illuminor at guard and try Fano at or flip that Illuminor at tackle and Fano at guard. Um, with Marcus and Bow, I can put him at guard, Illuminor at tackle. I can try Spencer Fano at center if I want to get really crazy with it. So I'm getting a versatile offensive lineman. My second ranked offensive lineman overall, and just a guy that I think is going to bring the kind of culture that Harbaugh wants to as a really physical and really plays to the whistle type player. So Spencer Fano is going to be my pick here for the Giants. And I'm also picking for the Miami Dolphins here. And this one's easy. This is going to be Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. Um, the Dolphins need defensive back help in a big, big way. And I think Delane has a very high floor, but also a high ceiling as a guy that I think is a great cover corner. So Mansour Delane is going to be the pick for the Miami Dolphins. And that brings us to Ben Parker drafting for the Dallas Cowboys. Ben, what are you going to do here for America's team?
We're ready to pick, but I did want to double check with Ronan. We had talked a little bit about a trade. Ronan, are you interested or is it not sitting the way you need it to sit?
Yeah, we're ready to roll if you're ready.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah. All right. It's up to you, Simon and Ronan, how y'all want to work out the trade, but we are prepared to make a trade from the Cowboys at 12 to Ronan. What team
The
are we
New
trading
York
with?
Jets.
the New
New
York
York
At
Jets
Jets.
at 16.
16.
That wouldn't take much. That wouldn't take much. Let's see. Ronan, you talk about whoever you're going to take, and I'll work out the trade details.
So we're going to go attack receiver here, and we're going to pick up Jordan Tyson, Arizona State. We're hoping, best case scenario, pick up a couple Pro Bowl awards. Um, Ceiling here, he looked great in college. He was a lot of fun, so bring him into New York here.
I'm gonna think that the Jets, they have picks 33 and 44, but then I believe they don't pick again until the fourth round.
Hmm.
If I'm reading all that right, yeah.
Yeah.
But they have two picks in the fourth round. Ben, I'm gonna think that this is gonna be 16, 103, and 140
Okay.
going to Dallas for 12. How does all that sound to everybody? Two fourth
Yeah,
round
that's
picks to
fine
move
if
up four
Ronan's good with
spots.
that. Yep.
It might not even take that much. It might only take one. Just depends on how everybody's feeling at the moment. But we'll call it two fourth round picks by the Jets. They get to keep everything in 2027. Keep the quarter. They keep the powder dry for a quarterback. But Dallas picks up a little something something for their efforts. Considering that they have a large gap in the second round. So we'll do that. The Jets are trading 104, 103, and 140 plus 16 to get to 12 with the Dallas Cowboys. All right, so now we are up. Ronan, I believe you are up with the Rams at 13. What are you going to do here for them?
So with the Rams here at 13, we are going to go ahead and roll with Makai Lemon. He does a lot of things that are similar to Puka, but I think 5-year flexibility on the contract, and with Devonte Adams, obviously he ain't getting any younger. We're gonna roll with Makai Lemon out of USC.
All right, yeah, this feels like another clean, like kind of hand and glove fit for the Rams and McVay down there in LA. Next, Austin, you are back on the clock with the Baltimore Ravens at 14. What is your decision going to be here?
Yeah, this one's gonna be Vega Ioane. He is who we're just sitting here hoping falls to us the whole time. He is our top graded offensive lineman in the class at anywhere on the offensive line. I think he's number one. It just so happens he is an interior guy, and that's what we need here in Baltimore. So that's a perfect match for us, and we're gonna sprint that up to the podium.
Yeah, that feels like a Ravens pick. That's super annoying for me. But all good, I guess. Let's see. Up next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 15. Now, Ben, you are in charge of the Buccaneers. You and I messaged already about a trade possibility with the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm still open to it. We've got a couple of guys here we like, so I think even moving back, we can still get a guy we like if the trade's good on your end.
Quick plug and quick cheating moment by me. Listen to Ben's latest mock draft on odds on favorite. So just in case he's getting some sneaky ideas there with the Cowboys at 16, we're going to go ahead and execute this trade. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to move up. They're going to use a third round pick to do it. If Ben really fights me to get like a fifth round pick on top of that, we'll make that happen. But and that would be pick 76, I believe, is the first of the Steelers' three third round picks. So we'll throw that in there. But Monroe Freeling is going to be the left tackle selection here for the Steelers. Made a very similar trade for Broderick Jones a few years ago in the draft, but Jones suffered a setback with that neck injury that I've talked about on here before. So to just keep all bases covered, Monroe Freeling, left tackle out of Georgia, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now, Ben, you are on the clock still with the Dallas Cowboys after you executed your trade down. Again, the Jets traded to 12 from 16 with the Dallas Cowboys. So, Ben, what are you going to do here with Dallas and your new pick at 16?
Yeah, honestly, I would want to take Jermod McCoy, but without being certain about how that the injury thing is for sure. I'm going to back away from that one. We're going to go ahead and pick up Keldrick Falk, edger from Auburn. Uh, Again, not a perfect prospect, but we do like the size. We like the fact that he can rotate inside. We like the fact that he can hold up against the run, so he can be on all three downs if we want. But we do like the potential there of getting to the quarterback. He has shown enough of that against top SEC schools that we feel like he can be a part of that for this team. So Keldrick Falk from Auburn will be the pick. That's at 16.
All right, so here's that next group of eight picks here. Offensive tackle run started at 9, 10, and then 15. Now we know of Fano and Freeling. We had a corner, our first corner going Mansour Lane at 11. Jordan Tyson, the Jets moved up to get that wide receiver, jump the Rams a little bit. Then Mekhi Lemon goes right after. And then Keldrick Falk, we get back to the next little run of edge rushers, maybe getting started at 16 with Dallas, who need defense and pick up a little bit extra in the process. All right, coming up next, we have the Detroit Lions, and that is me as well. Detroit certainly is looking at offensive line. They're certainly looking at edge rusher. Um, and you know what? I'm gonna do something a little bit different for me. Normally my pick here would be a Caleb Lomu out of Utah to play left tackle, keep Sewell at right tackle. Never mind. I'm just going to do that. That feels better to me. Caleb Lomu is going to be the pick. I'm going to keep things clean. Caleb Lomu, left tackle. We'll keep Sewell at the right tackle spot. Detroit needs offensive line. Taylor Decker moved on and free agent or got released. So the Detroit Lions are going to pick up their next left tackle in Caleb Lomu. Austin, you are on the clock with your Minnesota Vikings at 18. Gee, tell me, Austin, what's your pick going to be here for Minnesota?
Well, the default pick here is Dylan Thieneman, and absolutely makes sense. But Jamont McCoy being on the board here is very tempting. I do love McCoy, but as Ben mentioned, the injury risk. This reminds me a lot of Will Johnson last year's draft class, who
Yeah.
slid I think all the way down to the
Yeah.
third round or fourth round, which was just incredible. Like he was a top five player in the draft, and I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people who are extremely high on McCoy might see him as being of that caliber player if healthy. But I don't see him being of that caliber player, so the injury risk is just not worth it to me. And I'm going to take Dylan Thieneman, who is sort of a guaranteed bill of health compared to McCoy, for now at least, and fits in every way imaginable and is just an awesome player. So Dylan Thieneman, welcome to the Vikings.
Another hand in glove fit for sure. Ronan, you are back on the clock with the Carolina Panthers at pick 19. What are you going to do here?
Last season, the Panthers brought in Tetra McMillan, right, to help out Bryce Young. We're going to give him some more help with Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon.
Yeah, this definitely makes a lot of sense. Round out that pass catcher group for Bryce Young, and if it doesn't work out with Bryce Young, you have an established group of pass catchers for whoever the next quarterback ends up being. Ben, you are back on the clock now. The Dallas Cowboys have a quicker turnaround with their 16 to 20. What are you going to do for Dallas here?
So we're in the same boat. I'd love to take Jermod McCoy, but again, the medical uncertainty. And again, if I were an NFL team and we had studied him, we might have a more clear answer. But I don't here tonight, so I'm going to play that little bit of a game. I'm going to let him go. We're going to keep working on the defense here. We're going to add safety from Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I like the help on the safety end, and it goes with Keldrick Falk. So hopefully, be picking up our defense. We'll figure out CB later. I hate to push off some position, but some positions got to go. So we'll add Emmanuel McNeil Warren to our safety room.
I like that. I like McNeil Warren a lot. I think there is some like slot corner capability there too. So it's not just kind of a guy playing safety. That's a guy that can be in the box as a dime backer. That's a guy that can maybe I think develop into an actual corner in the slot, but also play some free safety, come up and hit too. Ben, you are back on the clock because you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after that trade down with the Steelers. So what are the Bucks gonna do at pick 21 overall?
Well, once again, it's the Jermod McCoy thing, but we're just not going to do that. Then we'd
Yeah.
start looking at edge. So, um, looking at edge though, I really don't want to pull down those guys at this point. So that's not what we're going to do there. Looking at wide receiver, there's a couple of guys there that we like. We could certainly add a pass catcher. And then going back over to the linebacker, those really are the positions that we're looking at. I don't want to add CJ Allen yet, so I think we're just going to slide right back over to wide receiver. Yeah, a lot of the guys we wanted to grab are actually gone at this point. That's okay. Casey Concepcion, I think, is the guy we're going to add here from Texas A&M. We like the speed, we like the production. Certainly, the size is not ideal, but we really do like his ability to get after it, catch the football, and produce the yak yardage. So, Casey Concepcion is going to be our new pass catcher.
All right, Casey Concepcion there to the Buccaneers. Mike Evans out, Concepcion in. We are up on the clock now with the LA Chargers. Austin, that is all you. What are you going to do for Harbaugh, Herbert, and the Chargers?
There's one pick that I've just become really accustomed to making, and I think I'm going to avoid making that one just for the sake of parity in my own head canon. Even though most of the people watching this probably have no idea what that pick is, but I know what that pick is, and I'm going to avoid it just for myself. So you're welcome. We're gonna go with a player who is really high on my board personally. I see him all over draft boards, depending on what type of cornerback you like. It feels like this is a guy who, if you like corners who can tackle, you're going to be a really big fan of, it seems. But if you care more about other things and playing on the outside and speed and things like that, you're not going to be a big fan. But we like physicality here in LA, so we're going to go with Avion Terrell out of Clemson.
I did want to bring this one up to the group once he got picked. Terrell obviously had the like 4.64 40 or something
Mhm.
at his pro day. Austin, are you just chalking that up to whatever the soft tissue injury was and it's not worried about? What do you see on tape from him? Do you think it's 4.64 speed or do you think that's all injury?
No, that's he's definitely dealing with an injury. I have a feeling that the Chargers are like, dude, pull that hammy, run slow, get to 22, please. We want you so bad. I have a feeling there's one team who's like, man, we really and he's like, okay, yeah. I mean, I would love to be it's going to be a team like the Eagles or the Chargers or the Chiefs. Like get someone one of these teams later in the first round who has a pick, who needs a corner, who's like, you want to win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years? We got you. Just do not go to the Dolphins. Like do yourself a favor and don't go stupid early to the Jets or something like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. He on tape he runs fine. He's not
Yeah.
blazing speed. He runs fine, but like you're putting him like in the slot a lot, and he's the best tackler out of all the corners in this draft class by a long shot, in my opinion. He has such an incredible like just instinct for like playing the run game. It's really awesome to watch, and I think he fits this kind of hardball mentality. So that's the main reason that I love it so much for the Chargers.
Yeah, if anything, the Chargers and Harbaugh are going to be like, did you see he tried to run his 40 with that hamstring injury? That's our guy.
Yeah,
Or I
yeah,
can't even, I don't, pretty sure hamstring. Yeah, they're going to be all over
yeah. It was
that
hamstring.
mentality. All right, Ben, you are up with the Eagles at 23. What's going to be your pick here?
Yeah, the Eagles are going to go ahead and take Caden Proctor, who is a guy who is immensely talented, but has some consistency issues. There are certain teams I wouldn't want to put Proctor on, but I feel like the Eagles are a team that could handle and develop him. And even if he doesn't ever get comfortable enough to play tackle, I believe they could in a year or two slot him in at guard. So I feel like this is a franchise that would be good for him. They can pipeline him a little bit, and certainly the talent is there. So that's where we're going to go. Caden Proctor, offensive lineman, Alabama.
Ben, I am going to set the scene real quick for you. It's the first week of training camp. Your first team offensive line, when you walk out day one, is where it left off last year, right? It's um, Lane Johnson. I'm going right to left for some reason. It's Lane Johnson. It's Steen. It's Jurgens. It's Dickerson, and it's Jordan Mailata at left tackle. Um, when your second team line rolls out, Ben, and your first round pick, Caden Proctor, is run into his spot, which spot is he going into on that second team line to try and push for either a starting spot or just start developing for the future, whatever your motivation is? What spot are you putting him at first?
Yeah, I'll start him off at tackle first. We've already got guys who may be leaving us, already threatened to leave us. So we'll run them out at tackle first. And then if that's not working out, we'll shove them over to guard and we'll figure out tackle in the next offseason.
Are you keeping him at his left spot then to keep him comfortable? Or are you switching him over to right and saying, "Hey man, you got 12 months to learn right tackle."
Yeah, that one honestly we haven't decided yet. We just like the idea that we can pipeline the talent here. So
I like it.
we will figure it out. We've got options between contracts running out and guys threatening to retire on us. We've got options about where we can put him. So he'll be the guy that has to find his spot though.
Just start getting some work. All right, sounds good. Ronan, you are up with the Cleveland Browns for your second pick. You had taken Carnell Tate with the sixth overall pick. What are you gonna do for them here at 24?
Yes, sir. And that's kind of the roll of the dice that happens in the draft, right? Because the Browns need left tackle, and
Mm.
Lomu, Proctor, and Freeling are all off the board, right? So I think we're still going to roll with tackle here, and we're just going to try and shape this guy. Um, and we're going to go with Ian Achor out of Arizona State, and try to move him over to left tackle. He's still fairly new to football. So I don't think he's, a dedicated one side or another. So we're going to try and roll with Ian Achor here at left tackle and have him compete with Dewan Jones as he comes back from injury.
I like that because even though the Browns aren't like in a great spot right now from an offensive line talent standpoint overall, they don't have to put him out there because there's not a lot of expectations, right? So they can just kind of let him take a year to develop and learn that spot. Um, and then come back ready to go maybe in 2027 when there's a new quarterback they can be fully committed to. All right, let me show everybody where picks 17 through 24 landed. We had more offensive linemen, Lomu, Proctor, Iheanacho. Our first safety goes off the board, and we get a mini safety run with Thieneman and McNeil Warren. Our second safety, our second and third go Thieneman and McNeil Warren. Um, Sadiq Concepcion Terrell as well. No other trades during this group, but this was where the Bucks landed with their trade from the Steelers, so they are new in this spot at 21. All right. Coming up next, we have the Chicago Bears picking at 25. Austin, this is your team. You are on the clock. What are you going to do here?
Um, I'm getting dangerously close to just ripping the Jamal McCoy pick because again, we don't know what these teams think
Hmm.
about this knee. We really have no idea. And the scary thing is that it's not the ACL that's the problem. But you're worried about another surgery, to fix the bone issue. And it's tough to pull the trigger, but the player is absolutely worth it. There's going to be a point in which it's absolutely worth it. I don't know that we're there yet. I'm lower on some of the players that are liked around this point of the draft, but there is one who I do like. It's a big position of need. Um, Not necessarily the most valuable position in the draft at the interior defensive line, but Cade McDonald is a massive run stopping tackle and just a complete anchor. That's something that this team needs is help run stopping. They, I think, led the league in interceptions or turnovers forced last year, but were near the bottom of the league in terms of efficiency at stopping a run. So adding the 330-pound McDonald into the middle is going to be a guaranteed help with that. The main problem with this pick is I do like a lot of the round two tackles. So it's like, do I want to just, take a shot at McCoy and then hope one of the round two tackles makes it to me? Or do I just want to take the best tackle in the class and fix the problem we have the most of? So we're going to do McDonald.
And it feels like those defensive tackles that are there aren't there. There's maybe one. I won't tip my hand in case I want to make that pick later, but I don't think they all lean as heavily to the run defense that Caden McDonald does. I'll leave it at that. That's definitely his strength, I think, more than anybody else's. So I think that's a solid pick for them. All right, I am up next with the Buffalo Bills at 26. And Ronan, you're safe here because I know you were looking to potentially trade out with your next pick. But I've got an edge rusher here that I really want for Buffalo. I want a guy that's going to be playoff ready, and I'm going to take Akeem Mesidor from Miami edge rusher and hope that that guy can just come in and produce right away as a maybe he doesn't even become a double digit sack guy in the first couple years, but he's a guy that's going to like put some pressure on offensive linemen and on the quarterback one way or another, and just a butt kicker. So I'm going to take Akeem Mesidor out of Miami for the Buffalo Bills at 26. And now that does bring us to Ronan, pick 27 with the San Francisco 49ers. What are you going to do here?
Yes, sir. The 49ers phones are open. If anybody would like to move up, we'll
Yes,
go
the
in
Raiders
once.
would like to move up from
All
36.
right. All right. Let's make it
Um,
happen.
let's see. The Raiders have three picks in the third round, or three picks in the fourth round, excuse me. And one pick in the third round, 255 points for that third round pick, though. I think that's going to be too much. Um, but I would trade pick 102 from Vegas, 36 and 102. And then maybe you could get like a six rounder if I throw in a little something extra, like 185. What do you think about this? Would you go down to 36, pick up a fourth rounder?
Yeah, we will. We don't have a third round pick. So we've only got the two in the top 100. Obviously it's 102, but same difference. We'll roll with that.
All right. So the Raiders were motivated to move up here this time because they would like to get a right tackle. They would like to get the last real first round tackle who just happens to play on the right side. They're going to take Blake Miller, the Clemson out of or the tackle out of Clemson. They have several guys that they can mix in at guard for their last kind of starting spot on the line this year. But Blake Miller is going to shore up that right tackle spot for quarterback Fernando Mendoza. So the 49ers trade out of 27, the Raiders trade up, but don't worry, 49ers fans, you will see a pick because reminder, this is a 2-round mock. So never fear, Box Score Network is here. Can we use that for something you guys think? Can we squeeze that in anywhere? I don't know. Write that down.
Seems fair.
Ben, you are on the clock with the Houston Texans. And, this is interesting because Houston, we've talked about offensive line for them before. So if somebody wants to get another guy, do they get ahead of the Texans, ahead of the Chiefs if they don't take an offensive lineman earlier? Same with the Dolphins. So what are you going to do here, Ben, now that an offensive lineman's off the board for the Texans at 28?
Yeah, and listen, Simon, you and I have talked at length about, our differences on Blake Miller, but with Houston, I was going to take him had he been sitting there, but he's not. So we're going to go ahead and jump on Jermod McCoy here. Austin was exactly right. At some point, it just reaches the idea that if you've done your homework as an NFL team, and of course they all have, you reach the point where the talent is worth the risk. So with Houston, we're going to go ahead and jump on that. We'll add him in, and yeah, if he's not ready for a while, that's not going to kill us. Certainly, we're trying to win now, but adding in Jermod McCoy, he would be a totally great fit for us. That's what we'll do. Jermod McCoy, CB from Tennessee. Stay tuned on the health side.
And that would be one of those everybody else is just like, you're kidding me, right? This guy going to that
Yeah,
defense, doing what he
right.
does, the way he plays. Um, because they'll just turn him into a safety if his knee doesn't let him go side to side the way he wants to anymore.
It's true.
All right,
Yes.
Jermon McCoy is the pick at 28 to the Houston Texans. Up on the clock is Austin making his second pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. Austin, what are you going to do here?
There's a lot of really good players who have made it to us here, and we drafted tackle with our first pick, so we're very glad we don't want to wait till this pick to get it because
Yes.
there's just not really any who would be worth a pick here at all. And we could have gone corner early, and there are a few corners here. Unfortunately, McCoy didn't make it to us there. I was kind of hoping for that, but there's a couple other guys we like. Edge is a need, and there's an edge at the top of the board, maybe two, depending on how you like some of these guys, or three. So I think we've played the draft game pretty well, and actually don't feel too bad about missing on one of those premier DBs earlier or edge rushers earlier. The question is, which one of them do I want to go now? At this point in the draft, there's going to be a deficiency with anybody you take. I don't think you're expecting to get a perfect prospect, this late in the draft. So sometimes when you look at a player and you think about sort of the deficiencies more so than what they're actually good at. And that's something I'm going to try to avoid doing and grabbing one of those players who jumps out with but he can't do this, and grab the player
Hmm.
who I think can do this kind of stuff. And this guy's just a freak athlete, had a lot of success. That's TJ Parker.
Yep. Yeah.
He's not the highest on my draft board. I feel like I'm a little lower than him on than consensus on him. But at pick 29, like I said, you're going to have some deficiencies and you're not going to have guys with the craziest amount of bend and the production and the speed and everything. And he's got most of that. And with a coach like we've got, I trust the development of the athlete.
Similar body type to Karlaftis, so it's the way they want to do it,
Hmm.
right? And then if you had told Chiefs fans in September that they would be adding TJ Parker the following season, they'd be ecstatic, right?
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of ups and downs for both teams. The Chiefs have two picks. Parker had obviously a down season for the most part at Clemson, but I think this is the right pick, and you kind of bank on where he was at 6 months ago more than whatever happened at Clemson this season. All right, I am up next with the Miami Dolphins. Um, unless I knew, yeah, I'm up next with the Miami Dolphins. Oh man, in Miami we got. Oh, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We took Mansour Delane at 11. We're gonna go to the other side of the ball. We're gonna take Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver. Give Malik Willis a target. give him someone that can play inside out, someone that's a really reliable and smart route runner, and somebody that has good hands, a little bit of yak, a little bit of blocking, a little bit of everything, but specifically that route running and flexibility to play inside out is what I really want for this offense right now. So Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be the pick for the Dolphins at 30. This brings us to the Patriots at 31. Ben, that is all you. What's your pick here?
Yeah, I think we would have taken TJ Parker had he been sitting here, but he's not there, taking 2 picks ago. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to wide receiver and pick up Denzel Boston, add him in to help out Drake May, and keep working on that offense. We surprisingly, and listen, all of us have mentioned it on all our separate shows. The Patriots still have a remarkable number of openings on their roster for a team that just came off a Super Bowl run. So we really can go several different directions. Wide receiver, though, we're happy to add Denzel Boston. Austin even mentioned it on their show 2 days ago when they did their mock draft. Boston's got a lot of speed for a guy his size. He's got the contested catch radius very well down. He's got the size, so we're glad to add him into this. And we really do feel like it upgrades the room too, right? It's not like he's just another guy in the room. So we're very happy with that.
All right, next up we've got our final pick of the first round with the Super Bowl champ Seattle Seahawks. Um, Austin, I know you were at one point hoping to trade out of this pick. Seattle, I think, only has 4 picks in the draft right now overall. Is there a name here that you like more instead, or are you still looking to maybe trade out?
Well, there's a name that I feel like a couple teams are going to like a lot, and with it being pick 32, you get that fifth year option, and I feel like this is a good opportunity for some of these teams to maybe jump up and get their guy. So if anyone wants to do that, that absolutely still is on the table. But if not, I am ready to make a pick.
Tell you what, this is going to surprise everybody, and half of the audience is going to hate me for it. I want to trade up with Arizona, but not for probably the position everybody's thinking. Okay. So
Okay.
if Simon feels like working out a deal for that, it's not for quarterback. And I know that's kind of what everybody's looking at me for, but that's not what I'm going to be doing. So if
Is this
Austin, if
you?
you're
Is this you?
interested,
Are you coming up 2 spots here from
yeah,
34?
34 Arizona.
I mean, that's only gonna
I
be
would say I would. I don't know if I would even want to do that. I think I would rather just keep 32 rather than the small difference to move down to 34 that you would be paying for a
It's
non.
not much.
If you
Yeah.
were moving up from a
yeah,
quarterback, like I'm asking for a lot for this
you can
pick
get a
because
haul.
I'm expecting a quarterback.
Right.
I'm not going to just move down for the sake of it. I think the value of getting that fifth year option is more valuable than moving a couple spots and picking up a sixth rounder or something like that. Probably maybe a fifth rounder, but yeah, if no
So do
team
the
wants to pay.
Jets or the Cardinals or the well, I guess not the Cardinals if we're not cutting a quarterback. Ben tipped his hand. He could have had it cheap. Could do the Jets or the let's see, not the Raiders. I already made that move.
I'm
Or the
thinking the
Browns.
Saints. I thought the
Browns at
Saints, the
39.
Browns, or I think a sneaky team that might want to move up, but I don't know how much draft capital they have would be the Rams to try and move up and get the heir apparent to Stafford is a really good move for them. But if they're not interested,
Rams don't have a ton of capital,
yeah,
at least
that's
in terms of it making it, worth it and being able to, draft on days 2 and 3.
And
I
Ben,
don't
we
think they
have
have any
talked about
fourth or
this in the
fifth.
past. Could the Bucks, you have the Bucks, could the Bucks be interested? They just acquired that third round pick, so they have a little extra capital. Would the Bucks potentially be interested in going up from 46 to 32?
No, but yeah, listen, like I'm the wrong guy to be asking about that, right? Because y'all, listen, we've all talked about it. Y'all know I'm not a huge Simpson guy, so I'm not
mhm.
the guy that's going to be trading up for him. But I
Fair.
realize there are teams that are seriously talking about that and thinking about that, right? So it's, I'm on one end of the spectrum, but there are teams that will absolutely be thinking about that.
This is an interesting point before whatever happens is going to happen. I think the Cardinals and the Jets are just going to play a game of chicken.
I
And we're
agree.
going to get to 33 and 34 and they're just going to be staring at each other. And then the Jets are at 33, right? The Cardinals are at 34.
But yes,
The
Mhm.
Cardinals
Cardinals are going to be
34,
like,
yeah.
take them, do it, do it. You have 3 first round picks next year. Do you want to use 33 right now and take a guy, or are you going to try and wait till
Yeah.
44? Do it.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Cardinals, I'm not. I wouldn't move up yet. I would just sit and say, you know what? We don't even know who we are. We don't know who our head coach is. We don't know if any of the 20 players that we've drafted in the last 3 years that are still on the team are even good. Um, we'll sit and dare you to take them at 33. Um, but I do agree the Seahawks should really look to move down. So, but Austin's right. If it's just gonna be for a fifth or sixth round pick, they probably got a guy they love, and they'd probably just rather. Do the Seahawks have a second? They'll say we'll wait again
Hmm.
until tomorrow. We'll try to trade 64 for like 88 and then like a couple picks in the 110s or 120, something like that. All right. Going once, going twice, no trade ups, no big trade ups for Ty Simpson. All right, Austin, what's your pick for the Seattle Seahawks at 32?
Yeah, so we're looking cornerback here to replace a big loss in the offseason. I do have a fondness for three of the guys up here are all, I think, valuable here and worth this pick. Trying to think scheme wise and everything, who fits the best with this defense. Uh, I think the answer to that might actually be Colton Hood. So yeah, we're gonna select Colton Hood, just kind of a pure coverage type cornerback here, and go that way.
All right, Colton Hood is the pick. Let me pull up this for everybody. Here we are, everyone. Picks 25 through 32, the back eight, the final eight of the first round. Caden McDonald, our first defensive tackle, goes off the board at 25. We have a trade up from the Raiders into the first round for Blake Miller to play right tackle. Jermon McCoy stops his slide at 28 to the Texans. We also have some wide receivers go Omar Cooper, Denzel Boston. TJ Parker joins Akeem Mesidor as a couple edge rushers to go into playoff teams. And Colton Hood looking to be kind of a replacement a defensive back there for Seattle, who lost a couple in free agency. All right, so Thursday night has ended. Everyone's getting on the phones. Everyone's getting a little bit of late dinner, maybe having an adult beverage or two, and they're reassessing. They're putting the boards back together for the next day. Ronan, you are back on the clock with 33 to the New York Jets. The game of chicken is over. Now it's time to decide. Are the Jets taking a quarterback at 33 or are they going elsewhere?
The Jets are not taking a quarterback at three. They're at 33. They're going to be taking cornerback at 33, and they're going to go with Chris Johnson out of San Diego State to bolster up that secondary after trading away Ahmad Gardner. The secondary was already looking a little bit rough. They didn't have an interception all of last season. Hopefully, Chris Johnson and his instincts can kick in and help generate some turnovers for that Jets defense.
All right, I like it. Chris Johnson going to the New York Jets. Excuse me, I was manifesting that trade, I guess. Chris Johnson, cornerback, going to the Jets. Austin, or no, Ben. I try to keep up giving Austin the Cardinals. I don't know why. Ben, you have the Cardinals at 33. Is the or at 34? Is the player you wanted, and maybe we're gonna go up to at 32 here for you, or was Chris Johnson your guy?
Oh, no, the guy was Peter Woods. And listen, the Ben Parker in me is strong and just wants to take Peter Woods here. But I realize if I'm part of a room, there's going to be a lot of guys screaming, hey, just go ahead and take Tyler Simpson here. At least it gives us a chance, even if he doesn't turn out to be our long-term guy, and gives our new coaching staff somebody to work with. So while I wouldn't trade up for him, I would fight the room on that. I'm sure there's going to be enough voices in the room that are saying, hey, give us a guy to work with, give us a guy to give us some hope for the future. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ty Simpson here for the Cardinals. It does make a lot of sense in terms of giving you hope, giving you some juice. You don't go through a dead season wondering, hey, are we just kind of struggling through our first year here? So we'll do that. Simpson quarterback out of Alabama.
And if they hadn't made a couple defensive tackle picks over the last couple of years, you could really see this team being the team to swing on Woods, especially for his fall. But it does set up nicely to just kind of sit at 34 and take the quarterback if he's there with all the other pieces they kind of have already in place on the roster.
Yeah.
Austin, you are back on the clock with the Tennessee Titans at 35. What are you going to be doing here?
I'm gonna go with one of my guys in this class, and I've been on this train for a while. I feel like, at the lead of it, and it feels like there have been people who have even taken the baton from me and run with it even further, and are calling for this guy to be drafted top 20, which I think is a little too far. I want to pump the brakes on that. But yeah, I think at 35, I love getting Jacob Rodriguez to just captain this young, hopefully up and coming team in Tennessee, and he's an emerging talent, I think, who's fairly new to the linebacker position, to defense, and as a whole. This guy was a quarterback until recently. So as he continues to, I mean, he knows the game really well from a quarterback position, but as he continues to get hands-on experience at linebacker and feel the game rather than see it from the other side, and he's going to be super dangerous. And the athleticism plays, the brain plays, the attitude plays. There's just I just love so much about this kid. So big Jacob Rodriguez fan, taking him to Tennessee.
I really like that pick. That feels like a solid guy. That feels like they've had a lot of turnover at linebacker the last couple of years. Just get a really smart playmaker, leader type guy there. Uh, Ronan, you are on the clock. The San Francisco 49ers are here after their trade down with the Raiders. Are How are you feeling about that trade now that you look at the board at 36? And then what's the pick you're going to make?
We're feeling good. We're feeling good because we wanted to upgrade at guard. As of today, recording, Trent Williams got extended, right, or got paid.
Hmm.
So we're going to, potentially give him a running mate there at left guard. I mean, this guy, I believe, played right guard at Georgia Tech, but we're going to go with Keelan Rutledge.
I think he's athletic enough to absolutely switch. So I do not mind this pick at all. And I think the 49ers are in a place where, nobody is like no spot is untouchable, right? Pooney has been a solid player since they drafted him, but I don't think that's a concern at all. So good pick there. And now I'm back on the clock with the New York Giants at 37. So got Jeremiah Love at 5, got Spencer Fano at 10. But now I need to get to the defense. And oof, I thought I was going to be going linebacker here, but if I just traded Dexter Lawrence and Peter Woods has fallen, this is where it's got to stop. This is where the slide. I'm getting a player that at one point was the number one overall player in this draft. I'm getting a player that I personally, as Simon, want him to get that weight back up a little bit, get back in that 310, 315. And I think he's one of actually the smartest run defenders, at least if you go back to his 2024 tape, the way he reads run plays developing and can get after it. Um, so I'm taking care of two birds here, getting a defensive tackle back on the roster and getting what I think is an improved run defense. So Peter Woods out of Clemson. Slide stops at 37 to the New York Giants. And Ben, you are back on the clock at 38. And man, I bet you were hoping you were getting these two stud defensive players that were falling to Houston between you got McCoy at 28 and then Peter Woods potentially there at 38. But what are you going to do for the Texans now that Woods is off the board?
All right, so we're finally going to get back to actually fixing the problem, and that's going to be offensive line. We're going to pick up Chase Bizantis, offensive guard out of Texas A&M. Uh, Technically, we covered all our offensive line stuff through free agency, but man, it's still patchwork, and I think it's still a mess. So we really could use an infusion of talent here, and Bizantis hopefully will help that right away. We hope, but if not, over the next couple of seasons.
Ben, when I went back, when I was watching DeSantis again a week ago, I feel like he could play some center. Do you think he could play center?
He probably could, but we're probably going to draft another center later, actually, because there's a cluster of centers we like
Yep.
later on.
Okay. But if you're a team and your team takes Basantes, I haven't heard anything about this from him. He played both guard spots, and that was basically it. Maybe a little bit of tackle in college, but I think he could play some center based on watching him. All right, Ronan, you are back up at 39 with the Cleveland Browns. What are you going to be doing here?
Yes, sir. And I think here we're going to get Miles Garrett, a running mate, and we're going to go with Zion Young out of Missouri and beef up that defensive line.
Yeah, it's an AFC North player right there. That's for sure. The way that guy plays. All right, Austin, you are on the clock with your third pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. What's happening here?
Man, I can't believe this worked out. When I was kind of going through all the possibilities just a few short picks ago for the Chiefs, I was like, man, if Brandon Cisse can make it down to me at 40, I will be jumping for joy. And here he is sitting there. This guy has Spags written all over him. And yeah, this is just a fantastic player for us, I think, here in Kansas City.
He is tantalizing for sure. The athleticism, the length, the recovery speed and ability, I think is really good on Cisse. And you just know Kansas City is going to replenish that defensive back room at some point, and especially at corner at some point in this draft. 40 is a good spot. Cisse is a solid player to do that. All right, let me show everybody where 33 to 40 is for us. And this is the first time we've gotten to mock this kind of area all together, and certainly on this channel. So this is a little fun. This is a little different. We got some cornerbacks in Johnson and Cisse. We got our second quarterback off the board, Ty Simpson, getting to Arizona at 34. Um, the slide stops for Peter Woods there at 37, Rutledge and Basantis, so we get a couple guards going as well. And then Jacob Rodriguez there at 35 to Tennessee. All right, so up next, we have the 41st overall pick. And Ronan, you have the Cincinnati Bengals, who made that Dexter Lawrence trade the other day. So you are on the clock for their first pick. What are you going to do here?
Yes, sir. And after moving 10, I think Cincinnati would be open to trading down and adding picks. So we'll let everybody look at the board, going once, twice, and a third time. And we'll go ahead and stick here at 41, and we'll roll with linebacker out of Georgia, CJ Allen, to patrol that middle of the field. Crash, he's a heck of a run stopper. So we're going to get Allen out of Georgia here.
I like that pick for them. They need, ironically, as a rookie, they need a guy that can lead that defense from the middle, and I think CJ Allen is a good possibility to certainly do that. All right, the Saints are back up on the clock. They had Caleb Downs go with the eighth pick, so they went defensive back. I think now's the time to get back in the edge rusher room. And so I'm going to go for Malachi Lawrence out of UCF. I think he's got, of all these tier two, tier three edge rushers, the best combination of size, but also speed and a little bit of pass rush moves to go with the overall juice that he's got. So we're going to go edge here with Malachi Lawrence out of UCF. Let's see. And then back on the clock is me with the Miami Dolphins. This will be our third pick. We have gone corner with Mansour Delane. We have gone wide receiver with Omar Cooper Jr. I really would have liked Rutledge to be here to play some right guard. Um, we have Jordan Brooks at linebacker. Mhm. We have a couple defensive linemen that we like. Ooh, you know what? Let's do something. Let's get a little. So we have a wide receiver, but let's get a tight end. Let's get a little goofy. Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt. Let me just get a guy with some size, obviously some athleticism. Easy buttons is what I'm looking for with the offense where it's at right now. Um, so I'm gonna go get Eli Stowers, tight end out of Vanderbilt here for Miami. Ronan, you are back on the clock with the New York Jets. What is going to be the pick here?
Yes, sir. And I think here with the Jets, I think we want to, gosh, this is kind of a free-for-all pick, right? Because this is our fourth pick in the top, 44 picks. So we've gotten a lot. And so I think
The
here,
Jets so far have taken Arvell Reese, Jordan Tyson, and Chris Johnson.
yeah, and they've beefed up that defensive line so much. But I think, what does it hurt to beef it up a little bit more? So we'll go with Christian Miller out of Georgia here.
Good pick. Yeah, that's a good pick. I really like that one. Um, All right. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens at 45 in Austin. That is you making your second selection. For the Ravens, early in the draft, you took Vega Ioane, the guard out of Penn State. What is your next pick for Baltimore here in the second round?
We were looking into Eli Stowers, I'll be honest, but that's okay. I think there's a guy in this draft class on the board right now who makes a lot of sense to go here. Yeah, I think everything checks out. He's a little bit on the older side as a prospect, but I mean, he's a premier interior defender in Lee Hunter, and that's just really going to help beef up. I mean, we're really investing in the trenches here in Baltimore. I think that's sort of what we learned from this last past season, and we are not going to have that be a weakness for us.
That feels like a Ravens pick. Nnamdi Madubuike, it hasn't been officially announced one way or another yet, but there have been some positive messages around him coming back from a scary injury. Um, but while they kind of work through that, Hunter is certainly a stout player in the middle of the defensive line. Also can create a little bit of havoc in the backfield from that spot. So something that they typically rely on and would certainly like to have back. So a couple defensive tackles going back to back here, Kristen Miller and Lee Hunter. Ben, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 46. What is your move here?
Yeah, we're gonna go pick up Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. We like the way that he can get pressure on the quarterback. We really don't love the way he holds up against the run, but we're just looking for somebody who can stress the quarterback. And he's shown for 2 seasons now that he can figure out how to do that. So that's who we're picking up, Cassius Howell.
All right. Cassius Howell is the pick to the Bucks. I am up next with the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts have had linebackers and drafted linebacker well for a really long time. All those guys that they have had are now gone. And so they're going to try to replenish that room here a little bit. Anthony Hill Jr., the athletic linebacker out of Texas, is going to be the pick to the Indianapolis Colts at 47. Ronan, you are back on the clock at 48. What are you going to do here?
Yes, sir. And we're between two positions, right? This is the Falcons' first pick. The wide receiver room isn't necessarily where we want it to be heading into the season, so that's definitely an area we'd like to address in the drafts. And obviously, with James Pierce's situation, we're not even sure if he's going to be back on the field, right? And so edge rusher might be at the top here. So I think we're actually going to go edge here, and we're going to go with Gabe Akis out of Illinois.
I really like Gabe Akis. I think that adds an element to their defensive line that they don't have in terms of one of the bigger, stouter edge rushers. Um, so I definitely like that move for them. I've definitely made that one as well. All right, so next up we have the Minnesota Vikings. Austin, you are back on the clock with your Vikings. After taking Thieneman at 18, what is your move here? Oh wait, actually, before Austin, you go. Let me do this group of eight for the viewers here. So we have some linebackers going in this group. C.J. Allen. We have Anthony Hill Jr. at the Bengals and the Colts with their first picks of the draft. Malachi Lawrence and Cassius Howell go as edge rushers. Kristen Miller and Lee Hunter, defensive tackles. So we're looking at the end Gabe Backus. So we're looking at the defensive front here in the 40s. And Ben, you and I have talked about this. This is kind of where that edge rusher group starts to really wane in terms of the talent. I also think defensive tackle, we see kind of a shift in overall value around this time. And then Eli Stowers, the tight end, going to Miami. All right, Austin, back to you. Minnesota Vikings, 49th pick. What are you going to do here?
A lot of good players on the board. There's one player in particular who was super duper high on my board at one point in the draft and has fallen tremendously due to some injury concerns. And it's kind of a toss up between him and another guy who I'm a little bit lower on than consensus, but is a very good player. a freak athlete. Both these guys are massive individuals. Uh, let's continue. We went safety in the first round. Let's continue to beef up this defense. This is terrifying because a man of his size dealing with foot injuries is absolutely scary, but I don't know what the team doctors have to say, so we're going to assume we think he will be able to get over this and get to a high level of football again, and that's going to be Caleb Banks.
If it hits, man, it's a huge hit. And for the Vikings, a team that haven't had a lot of picks over the years, getting kind of some extra, I think 9 picks in total this year or 8 picks. So they're plus a little bit, at least, especially from where they've been. Banks is a guy you want to swing on because if that hits, man, that is huge. All right, I like that one. Banks 49 overall to the Vikings. Picking at 50 is me with the Detroit Lions. So let's scroll on over here to the board. Ooh, that's interesting. Edge rusher is definitely a big need. Um, but I don't know if I'm gonna get a guy that really fits Detroit at that spot. Um, the wide receivers are really falling. There's a run of wide receivers that could be happening, but that's not the way we are going to take it just yet. You know what? This is a Lions player, and they need a little help in this area. Um, this isn't maybe the exact position with this group I would take for them. Actually, no, I'm not gonna. I am gonna go position. I'm gonna go AJ Halsey, safety out of LSU. Um, another a hard hitting safety, a guy that can come down from free safety. I think he can play in the box a little bit. But another guy similar to McNeil Warren, he's not quite as refined, but I think shows some instincts as a potential slot corner. If he can work on his technique a little bit, I think he'll be right there in terms of some coverage ability. So with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph working back from injuries, hopefully we're gonna go safety for Detroit and AJ Halsey out of LSU. Um, Up next is the Carolina Panthers. Ronan, that is you. What is going to be your pick?
Yes, sir. And I think we're going to go interior defensive line here. And I'm trying to decide if I want the bigger run stopper, the maybe smaller guy who provides a little bit more pass rush, to pair with Derek Brown. And I think we're gonna go with a little bit smaller guy. We're gonna go with Grayson Halton out of Oklahoma.
And I think we're hitting that point in the draft, right? Where like it's going to start getting funky right around this 50 mark. But Holland is a really fun player. I really like his combination of kind of stoutness and squattiness, but a little bit of pop too. So Grayson Holton out of Oklahoma is going to be the pick. Next up at 52 is Green Bay, and Ben, that is all you. What is going to be your selection?
Green Bay, we feel like we have a number of players that we like that we can pick from, but we're going to go with cornerback Traden Stukes out of Arizona, add him to that defensive backfield. We were looking at edge rusher as well. There was a guy in there we kind of liked too, but the guy we really wanted didn't fall to us. So we are happy to have Traden Stukes from Arizona.
Green Bay has a mix and a depth of versatile defensive backs, and Stooks is a guy that I think can play a little bit all over. So I like the idea of Jonathan Gannon coming in. He did the three safety
Yeah.
thing with Arizona, right? If Stooks is just a third safety, if Stooks plays a little outside, if he plays a little inside, it's a team that needs depth. So they're getting a guy that can fill multiple spots by doing that. That's a nice pick. Um, all right, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mentioned the wide receiver fall was happening, and so the Steelers are in really good shape here. And so now it's a matter of God, they gotta be a little more normal. Ben, you know this hurts me. I want Chris Brazzell. Me, Simon.
Right.
I want Chris Brazzell. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be a little bit smarter and I'm gonna take Jeremy Bernard. Just a guy that can do a little bit of everything, blocks his tail off, is a bigger body, but can play the slot, smart player, good hands, little bit of yak. So it's just a guy that could do a little bit of everything to complement Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf. I'm going to take Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver out of Alabama. And then, Ben, you are right back on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles at 54. What's going to be your pick here?
Yeah, we're actually going to go wide receiver as well, but we like Bryce Lance, wide receiver out of North Dakota State. We really like the size, the speed, the RAS, the production. The only hold up is that, hey, he's small school, but man, that's why he doesn't go first round typically. Okay, so sitting back here at 54, we're feeling pretty good about that. Again, we don't yet know how the AJ Brown thing will work out. It's not one for one, but that's okay. We got room for him anyway, so that's what we're going to pull off here um, from North Dakota State.
All right, Austin, you are on the clock with the LA Chargers. What is going to be your move here?
We're gonna go with Emmanuel Pregnon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't feel like I need to explain that. That one.
That guy just pushes people around, man.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's so good. I love that. All right, Manuel Pregnon, offensive lineman from Oregon to the LA Chargers. All right, I'm up next with the Jacksonville Jaguars with their first pick in this draft, and I'm excited about this one. I'm going to take Jake Golday, linebacker out of Cincinnati. Um, think about what Devin Lloyd was when he was coming out, where he's kind of this raw but athletic guy who could do who projected as a good coverage guy because of the athleticism, but just kind of started off as raw, like needed to be told what to do and where to go. Jake Golday is a lot of that as well. So I'm gonna get Jacksonville another linebacker to play next to Foye Oluokun, try to be the next guy there in the middle for them. So Jacksonville Jaguars take Jake Golday out of Cincinnati. Here is picks 49 to 56. Caleb Banks, AJ Halsey, that's a typo, obviously. Grayson Holton, 51. Trey Dan Stukes to Green Bay. Next wide receivers off the board, and Bernard and Bryce Lance going 53 and 54. Pregnon and Golday. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears. Austin, you had some deliberation going on in the draft room at 25, but you've got two picks in the next four selections here for Chicago. How are you going to play this for the Bears?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Got to play the draft game here. When you have picks this close, you have to look at who's available, who's picking between you, what's most likely to go, that kind of thing. We got our interior beef with our last pick. You talked about like maybe playing the draft game earlier, but didn't want to necessarily do that. We traded away a receiver. There's been a receiver run going, and there are a few available here that I think would be worthwhile. We've got Odunze and we've got Burden. Trying to think which one of these guys pairs the best with that combo. And then obviously at tight end, you've got Loveland and Komet. I think the one that would actually pair the best here is to go with another guy outside to allow Burden to play in the slot. You've got the big target in Odunze. Let's pair that up with some more size out there. That's what we have a lot of available here in this to us. But let's go with the sure-handed Elijah Surratt out of Indiana.
That's just a player that is going to be a good wide receiver on a good offense wherever he ends up. Like Jawan Jennings has kind of been my comp for him when Jennings was like number three or number four for the 49ers. He could just do all the things that a good offensive coordinator, a good head coach want in a complementary offensive piece. Um, I really like that. Elijah Surratt to the Bears at 57. Ronan, you are back on the clock at 58 with the 49ers. What is going to be your pick here?
Yes, sir. We're going to help out our secondary here, and we're going to go with Keontae Scott out of Miami to hopefully slide into that nickel position.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool player, man. Um, whether he's playing the safety, whether he's playing the nickel for them, or floating around doing a little bit of everything, I definitely get that. That's a good one. Ben, you are on the clock with the Houston Texans. What are you going to do here?
Yeah, so we've already added Jamad McCoy. We took a little bit of a risk there in the first round, and we added Chase Basantis guard at pick 38. So we're actually going to go back here and pick up Connor Lew, center from Auburn. There are questions about his athleticism, but we don't have to have that. We just added Chase Basantis, who can provide the athleticism. What Lou can do at center, just point of attack, pushing forward, run lanes to either side. We really like the way that would set up the play action and the run game for us. And then we can get the athleticism from the other guys that we've got on the team. So Connor Lou, center from Auburn to Houston.
There's a lot of teams that need a true center. All the centers in this class, I think, are really clumped together. So it's going to be really interesting when that run starts. Is it here at the end of the second? Is it going to be third? Is it going to be fourth? We'll see who plays that game of chicken. Um, Austin, you are back up with the Bears. You just took your wide receiver in Serrata 57 a minute ago. Now you're at 60. What's the move here?
You're just having a bit of a panic attack, but we're gonna work through that. Uh, let's go with the absolute monster at safety here. And Zach Wheatley, the safety out of Penn
Mm,
State, 6'3", tackling machine.
yeah.
Not necessarily my best like ball skills out of a guy, but we have plenty of that on this team. So I want the attitude and the tackling ability of Wheatley.
Yeah, Wheelie's he's when you look at him, you're like, okay, a 6'3" free safety. He's not what you expect him to be, right? You think he's getting like thinner, right? You think he's going to be this like rangy ball hockey type player, maybe like a coverage guy, like one of these nickels disguised as safety. No, he wants to come up and hit. And for Chicago, a team that lost a lot of defensive backs, I think that makes a lot of sense. So they're going to go with Zeki Wheatley out of that's another Penn State, right? Out of Penn State. So Ronan, you are up at 61 with your LA Rams. What is going to be the pick here?
I am, and I kind of want to do something a little bit funky here. And I think we're gonna try and get. I don't know if it's necessarily the heir apparent, but I think you can at the very least try and develop him to be so. I'm between two guys here, both of which would be fun projects for McVay to try and mold. But I think for this exercise, we'll roll with Taylor Green out of Arkansas and rely on that
Ooh.
4.35 speed, the big arm, big size. Have him, I think back to last season, and if we're in goal line, everybody in the world knows that Kyron Williams is getting the football, right? And I think if you add even just that little wrinkle there on third and short, fourth and short, I think that can make a big impact, this coming season. While you can also try and develop this guy to be your quarterback of the future.
That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. Our first real non, top two QB mention, I think really mostly on this network for the most part. Because the offensive guys have been covered on Pro Football Enterprises. We've talked about like Nussmeier and Beck and Aller just a little tiny bit. Real quick, just around the room. Austin, you were smiling big. What do you think about this move of Taylor Green to the Rams?
I talked about him recently on our podcast episode this week. He's one of my favorite players in this draft, simply because he, I think, is super raw and one of those guys who's going to take a while to pan out. I love him going to place like this where he doesn't have to start in the next 2 years. And the best thing about it is if he just doesn't work out, if you get him in the building and he just cannot figure it out, you've got the best, most second to third most athletic tight end in the league. Like, uh, yeah, it's just he's got a fallback plan just because he's so athletic. It's gonna hard to like be a waste of a pick. Now this is rich for him, I'll say, but like for when I'm projecting him to go late third, early fourth, I think he has a great fallback plan of just athlete.
And when you're a team trying to win a Super Bowl, right? And you have but you've covered all your bases in free agency in terms of the defensive backfield. You got a little bit of depth in infusion of offense in Makai Lemon at 13, as they did in this mock. Man, adding an element for McVay of a quarterback that can run, a quarterback that can maybe run out and do some things athletically on the outside as well for like a both QBs on the field at the same time kind of situation. And then also like sneaky fun thing of can we maybe develop this guy to be a future quarterback? Um, yeah, that's fun. That's fun and better, if you're gonna take the swing, go ahead and take it here. Because a lot of other stuff is already kind of sorted out for them. Okay. I'm up next with Denver. And at this point, at 62, Denver's first pick of the draft after the Waddle trade, I thought I was gonna just kind of take the next best linebacker for them, kind of replenish that depth a little bit. But there's three guys here that I think definitely need to be second rounders, and I'm a little surprised they're all here. So it's R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma, it's D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana, and it's Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee. I'm not gonna take Brazzell here, even though the defense for Denver is really strong. But I'm just going to continue to add to that and make sure everything is going to be good here. And Denver's great with the undersized speed rushers. So I'm just going to take another one here and make sure we have good depth there. So R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma is going to be the pick, just so I have a steady, a ready to go stable of these speedy edge rushers that make my defense go. So R. Mason Thomas is going to be the pick for Denver at 62. We are back on with the Patriots, and that's Ben at 63. Ben, what are you going to do here?
Yeah, so we picked up Denzel Boston in the first round. In the second round, we're actually going to hit the offense again with Caleb Tiernan, tackle out of Northwestern. We really like the work he can do. Just good, solid tackle. You don't usually find those at this point in the draft, so we're happy to add that on here. Continue to get younger there on the offensive side of the football.
Is there a day one plan right now, or is this just getting another good player in the building at a position that's hard to get after?
At the moment, we're fine if it's just another guy in the building, but there is the thought we can kick Tiernan over to right tackle, or we can move Campbell over to right tackle and keep Tiernan at his more natural spot. So we're open to either one. But again, good player in the building is what we're after right now.
All right. And Austin finishing this thing out for Seattle. Two second round pick 64. What's going to be the move here?
I feel like we all know where this is going to go. It's Jadarian Price. I've seen him mocked to Seattle at 64. Basically, anytime he makes it this far. If he makes it this
Mhm.
far, it's kind of a lock. I've seen people reach and actually take him at 32. We saw that in a game we did here on the channel a few weeks ago. But that's not going to happen. But yeah, if he makes it down to 64, which I think there's a decent possibility he does, but I wouldn't be betting on it. Yeah, I think this is a very easy pick. This is a team that needs a running back like right now. So to grab the second running back off the board in this class, all the way down at pick 64, someone who has production and he's versatile. It's just a kind of a position of need and a good player to fit it.
Austin, I did this game with Ben a couple of weeks ago when we did Seattle, but would you take the third running back off the board at 64 if you're Seattle, or is this if Price is there, he's the pick, but otherwise we'll look at one of the future, we'll look at one of the later picks. I think it's maybe do they have their third rounder and then a sixth rounder, something like that? Would you just wait till round three and see somebody, or round six and see somebody, or do you like someone else at 64?
I like Washington out of Arkansas at 64. I would be willing. There is one other running back that I would be willing to go into the season with as my guy, and that's Emmett Johnson. That is probably not someone I would be taking at pick 64 though. He's someone I would try and get in the third round. So I think if Washington's available here, I would take him. If he's also gone, I would not take Emmett Johnson. I would go best player available at any other position and then try and get Emmett Johnson in the third round, whether I have to trade up for that or not. Somewhere in the middle of the third round, I'd be willing to trade up and grab him. Just a little too rich at 64.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the late 70s, though, I'd feel. decent enough about it.
All right. That makes sense. Let's hit over here. Here's our final eight picks of the night. Our 4.0, our final mock, 2 rounds. Elijah Surratt goes here in this group. Caleb Tiernan goes in this group. Taylor Green, though, the quarterback, getting a little buzz for the Rams at 61. Connor Liu, the first true center off the board for us at 59 to Houston. We also get another running back, and then R. Mason Thomas and Zaki Wheatley as defensive players are here as well. Um, just real quick, guys, let me get, because it's Wednesday as this comes out. We don't need to go through and recap this whole thing. What I'm going to do is there's going to be a graphic on the Box Score Network Twitter account. Maybe I'll also put it just in the comments on YouTube with all the team by team selections. If you have any of the like full team breakdowns or like your own team, how you felt about it, great. If not, just like a takeaway from doing this mock where runs happened, and then as you think about it for Thursday night, tomorrow night, what's a big kind of thing or just any kind of takeaway that you're thinking about could be coming to us on Thursday. Ben, I'm gonna start with you. As we do this mock, as you do this exercise, as your wheels are turning, what do you think we might see on Thursday?
Well, just two things that came up to me tonight. Number one is the edge rushers. They went like I expected. We saw a cluster in the first round, and then there was another desirable cluster in the second round. So by the time you get to 50, 52, it's really thinned out as far as getting the guy that can really actually get after the quarterback. The other thing that did surprise me a little bit, but I think I understand it, Simon, you alluded to it, the wide receivers not collapsing or falling, but sliding a little bit. Now, I can only speak for myself. I'm seeing guys still in the third round that I personally like. And I think if
Mhm.
that's true, it does pull down that second group of wide receivers to where it's like, well, I don't really see a huge difference between, the guy I can get at 45 versus the guy I can get at 65. So it makes me maybe go grab another position just in this year's draft. I do feel like that third group of receivers is pulling down that second group.
Ronan, same question to you. What's a takeaway from tonight, and how do you think that maybe can be something we see on Thursday?
I think the way that the offensive line fell in our draft is really interesting, right? Because those top eight offensive linemen went in the top 27 picks.
Yes, they did.
And then you look at those teams in the end of the first round, right? Between Houston, Kansas City, Miami, even New England, all teams who could consider offensive line in the first. But, if those eight guys are taken, things might change and they might have to change up their plans.
And Austin, for you, one thing from tonight, how it applies to Thursday.
Yeah, to me, it's this cornerback room, actually.
Hmm.
After Delane, now that McCoy is sort of up in air with the injury thing, you've got Terrell, Johnson, Hood, and Cisse, and then now McCoy joining this group. And these guys could go in quite literally any order, and I would not be shocked. So if you have a guy that you want, and if you're down around pick 40 to 50, if you have one of those guys you really like, you're probably gonna have to go get them because there's so many up here, and you don't know what order they're gonna go in. I was a little surprised actually, even though I took three of those guys. I took at least I think three of those guys were guys I like and took. So maybe if you're one of those guys who likes all of them, you can feel comfortable sitting back. But if you have one of them high up on your board, you're gonna have to go get them because a lot of teams are gonna be when it starts, like we talked about the runs, when it starts, we had them go at 22, 28, 32, 33, 40. It goes pretty quick.
I think the only thing I'll add is, and let's see, how did we do on safeties? Those guys, I mean, there's still a lot of versatile safeties. So I think the depth and versatility of some of these groups is definitely showing in what we have here, and the flavors, right, that you're going to be looking for. Because like D'Angelo Pons is still a corner that's on the board that people are thinking is a top 50 player. But I think in some cases we went with a little more versatility. We went with some guys that have actually played safety before, even though Pons maybe could play some safety for some teams. You look at these defensive linemen, some of these edge rushers that are left on the board. Um, whether it's a Denai Dennis Sutton or who can maybe do a little bit of versatility up and down the line. Maybe that hurts him a little bit. And then these pass catchers, especially these tight ends, right? These guys that are okay. You have guys that are move tight ends. You have guys that are blocking tight ends. You have guys that are in between. And these guys made it to the end through the second round. Like a guy like Max Clare, somebody that could go in the second round, didn't for us today, or second or day two, I should say, didn't for us today. Go in the second round. Um, so just as these guys at these deeper positions, as we think about these positions a little more fluidly, um, those guys getting pushed down as those groups are a little bit bigger instead of those specified positions and roles. Yeah, I think all that tracks makes a lot of sense. Um, Guys, it was fun. Thank you all for all of your work. Thank you all for all of your analysis. But the work is not done yet, so it is Wednesday as this is up. We have a couple conversations going up Monday, Tuesday. Ben and I will have one more kind of preview show coming up for you guys on Thursday. We'll also have a reaction. Austin will be over on some form of social media, probably doing some reactions during night one of the draft. And then Ben and I will also hopefully be coming at you after the draft on Thursday night. Then we'll have several recap things throughout the next couple of weeks, and then on to 2027 after that. So, everybody, thank you for being here on Box Score Network. Make sure you stay tuned, follow the socials, follow the channel, subscribe, comment, and we will talk to you all again soon. So, thank you so much. Have a good one.